and Demi Tebow.
Oh,
I got
there we
it.
go.
Third time was the charm.
Mm-hmm.
You guys
We
are amazing.
kind of, sometimes people call, hey, Timmy, and then I'm like, oh, here I am, because Timmy,
Or Demi,
or
yeah.
Demi, and then
Yeah.
Timmy, yeah.
The me's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Timmy Demi.
Timmy Demi.
Yes.
You know,
And
anyway.
then also you guys obviously answered to just the Tebows.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I don't know how many people are like,
Hey,
hey,
the Tebows.
Tebows, yeah.
Hey, no, actually, people were cute because we got a lot of Christmas cards, and they said to the Tebow family or to the Tebows.
Ooh.
So that was cute.
We are
I
a
was
family
like,
because we got
"Thanks."
3 dogs. What?
That's true. Well, your family,
And-
because you two got married a year ago. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As
Just
we're
been over a
recording this,
year.
we are just days away from the 1-year anniversary.
I know.
Yes. Yep.
We
I'll
can't
believe
wait.
What
You
a
two
year.
gotta wait and see what happens.
You gotta wait and see what happens.
And I will say, yeah, you can always hear him. I will say this, I think, is my opinion, I can't prove this like theologically, but I think that 2020 counted in dog years. So you may or may not, but mostly have experienced already 7 years of marriage.
Maybe.
Good job.
I mean, that isn't, I mean, to experience a quarantine in the midst of your first year of
It's
marriage.
kind of what we walked into. Like
Yeah.
we literally, so we got married on the 20th. And we went to our honeymoon, and then we flew from our honeymoon to
Night to shine.
Night to Shine, which we
Rome,
were in Albania, Rome, Paris, then back to the States on a bunch of locations. And actually, at our honeymoon, we were having a dinner,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's this family that started arguing.
No,
and
no.
fighting. We
Okay,
couldn't-
wait. Hang on. Let me tell the whole story. No.
Yes.
We're having a romantic stargazing dinner. They brought me like this nice South African wine. I feel like I'm home, and it's so romantic as you can get. The next moment, Tim is gone, like up and gone, down the stairs, out across the bridge, like just gone. I'm like, where the heck are you going? He's like, I have to go help. If I don't go, you know what I can do? Nothing.
Well, there was 2 families that were starting a huge brawl, and we had no idea. They weren't speaking English, so we couldn't understand them. And they were speaking Afrikaans, so she couldn't understand them. And they just having this huge brawl. And so all the wait staff is trying to get in between them. And so I go to try to see if I could help. And
We have no idea why they're
we have no
fighting.
idea why. We can't understand
Were they
them. But I just
intoxicated?
go. No, I don't think so. But anyways, make a long story short, I get there, we try to help, whatever. And then I started asking
Someone
people that speak
translates.
English, and they start telling me they're fighting over this thing called coronavirus. And I'm like, what the heck is a coronavirus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what they were arguing about, and throwing insults back and forth. And apparently it doesn't
Whoa.
matter.
But they were
started
fighting over
arguing
that.
about it. And that's how this melee started.
That's how you found out
And
about
so
the
we were
pandemic.
like, I go back and I was like,
We're like, we better look
they're
this thing
fighting
up.
over something called the coronavirus and whatever. Anyways, we leave there and then fly to all those other places. But that was the first time we heard about it
Yep.
on the
It was
honeymoon.
pretty intense.
Wow.
And you saw a 6 feet shark
I know.
swimming underneath you.
And it was like our first marital fight too.
First
It
marital
was.
fight.
About
I'm like-
the coronavirus.
I'm like, Timmy.
No, it was about me leaving her.
Well, first of all, I mean, you don't know what you're walking into. Is it a freaking knife stab? Is it a gun
Right.
shooting? Like, what are you walking into? We just got married. I love you a lot. Come back here right now.
And you found
And
out that
he's just-
you married a good Samaritan. You found that out right then and there. You're like, he is good.
You know,
has guns,
did
will
you-
travel.
you
It
know, when
wasn't a
I really
gunfight till
found that
Tim
out,
brought his
though.
guns over. Then it was a gun show.
Good one. What were you saying, Demi?
No, I was saying, you know, when I really found out that I married a really good guy we just got back after all the, no, I'm lying. Yeah, well, pretty much like a month later, post our honeymoon, spring training started and then it stopped a week or 2 later. I came back from filming something abroad and got back, and it was our first time that we were actually together again.
Here again from our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And
We went for a walk
she
on
was
a
like,
Sunday
hey, would you like to
afternoon.
go for an afternoon walk? And I was like, well, no, but I'll do it with you.
I exercise for a living, but sure.
You're like, I don't exercise for
is
pleasure. I
amazing.
Love
exercise for
languages,
business.
Anyway, have an amazing, nice long walk. We come home and we realize we locked ourselves out the front door. So we go through the back and I just see red sirens everywhere in our front yard. Like I look through the back door, through the front door.
I mean, there's ambulances, cop cars,
Fire department
everywhere.
Everywhere. I am like, oh my goodness, is our home burning down? What happened? So we run around, and as we run around to the front, the whole fire department comes running towards us, and they're like, fire, where's the fire?
Did y'all call the fire department?
Yeah, I'm like, no, but what's happening? And they're like, it's this address, and I'm like, no, that's that way. And so
they all take off going, and then she realized she told them the wrong way. And I'm sprinting after them because if they're going to an emergency, then maybe there's something I can do to help. And so then she's like,
really
Jenny, where are you going? And so then she's singing to the wrong address. So then they come back the other way to the house on the other side of us. And so then I'm sprinting back, following him, trying to help. And she's still like, where are you going? And
once again, he doesn't know what he's walking into here. I'm like, you could be walking into a fire.
Going into the fire.
No. Yeah.
There's a Timmy in the fire.
Wow. Very nice. That's a new one.
I'm not going to try and sing. But a good thing came out of that was we actually met our neighbors for the first time because the fire truck
It takes a house fire for you to meet your neighbors.
No, the fire truck destroyed their mailbox.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. They were like, because she told them the wrong way, so they're like backing up and then crushed their mailbox. So
it was my fault. It was all my fault.
Oh my
help them with their
gosh.
mailbox. So we met them.
Now, did you guys go through like a premarital counseling thing or anything like that? Any kind of program?
We did.
Yeah.
Actually, multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Different pastors, couple books. We needed all the help we could get.
What was the most helpful thing? Because I know we always talk to young married couples or newly engaged, and always encourage them to do that stuff ahead of time. But I think you're going to try and force and flesh out issues you're going to confront inevitably.
Yeah.
What was the most helpful thing you guys went through? Maybe someone listening on the podcast right now is like, dang, we're engaged.
I think all of it helped. And even when we thought, oh, this won't help, we did it anyways, and we'd find ways that help. Remember the one study we did where we wrote down all of our answers?
Yeah,
that was
was it Pastor Stone?
Yeah, it was Pastor Stone.
It was a personality test.
Yeah, it was a personality, love language, all of it mixed. And we would go through and answer different questions. And that brought out a lot of questions. Oh, really? You would think about it this way?
Yeah.
Oh, really? You would answer it that way? That was really, really fun. And I think really enlightening because it would give you a lot of scenarios. And that was really intriguing.
I think overall, because there were so many great tidbits that we took from various counseling sessions, but I think overall something that stood out for me was just great conversation starters. Yeah. We read a book, tiny little book, it wasn't necessarily that we learned a lot from it, but it started amazing conversations and brought up different scenarios. Yeah. And I think that was really great. It's just conversations that you wouldn't necessarily think about bringing up, and just hearing each other's viewpoints and trying to figure out how you'd meet each other in the middle. And it taught me a lot about Tim, and hopefully vice versa.
I think we're so fortunate and blessed to have so many wise people like you guys in our lives, and so many pastors that encourage us and would speak into us and share with us. And that was so encouraging because I think we learned different things from all of them. And then I think, Demi's stepmom being a neuropsychologist really helped too. Wow. She would share different wisdom with us. That was fun. My parents would share great nuggets and just so many wise people. And we've just really tried to practice what Proverbs says of he who walks with wise men will be wise, but companion of fools will suffer harm. Like we want to have wise counselors around us. And we also believe what Proverbs says, in a multitude of counselors, there is wisdom. So we just didn't want to have, one pastor or one coach. We wanted to talk to a lot of people because we wanted to get nuggets from all of them. And just really try to practice that and have a lot of people speak into us and encourage us, because everybody's coming from a different vantage point. We can learn something from everyone's perspective.
That's true.
Yeah.
We did. We definitely. One thing I also want to add is, so I lived in New York and Timmy lived upstate New York playing baseball that year. It was, where was Syracuse, right?
Binghamton, New York.
No, the year we were engaged, you were in
Syracuse,
Syracuse. Yeah. So we were long distance. If we saw each other, it was like for a quick dinner or quick breakfast, or it was, we really didn't have a lot of time in person. And if we did, it was so little. And so we pretty much had a long distance relationship since we met. And one thing that I think you actually suggested was to do a devotional together. And so I just love a hard copy. So I would like go and find devotionals, and Timmy would find devotionals, and we'd buy 2 copies. And so we'd read it together every night or every morning or whenever we could find time. And we were pretty good with that, because that just, helps us spend time in the Word together and pray together and start great conversations together. And might not necessarily have been marriage counseling books, but just good devotionals. Yeah.
It keeps you synced up. Was there a favorite one you guys have gone through? I think people are always looking for a good recommendation.
We went through a lot.
We did.
A couple of books that I think really helped me understand a lot of things. Meaning of Marriage by Gary Chapman.
Oh, Meaning of Marriage, that Keller?
Yes, no, sorry, Timothy Keller, but the 5 love languages.
Chapman.
That's Gary Chapman.
Great.
Yeah, that's Gary Chapman. Yeah. What other one? I have them right here.
That's really good.
Actually. I'll go look them up
for
you guys.
Those are all great recommendations.
Circle Maker.
Yes,
so
that one.
together.
That's the devotional we did.
Betterson, Mark Betterson.
That's fun.
We did the book and we did the devotional of it. Both of those were really good. And it's so much about prayer, but for us, we went to learn and practice praying together too. So that was really cool and encouraging.
Yeah, that's Draw the Circle, you said? Yeah.
That's
right.
amazing.
Yeah, the devotional is called Draw the Circle.
Now, obviously, I always encourage newly married couples, find the beauty of that. You spent, like you said, so much of your dating, and engagement long distance away from each other, all that. Then you get married, and it's almost like a beautiful thing that quarantine allowed you guys really to have that time at home without feeling bad, of holidays and being out with other people. And it really does allow you. I think in the Israeli army, if you get married, especially in the Old Testament, you were given this first year off, to serve and, in your home.
I think it was a year or 2. I thought it was 2, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there you
maybe,
go.
But that's
so
pretty
you're given
cool.
just that time to really focus on the home and build that up before you're out. And it was kind of beautiful for you two, especially, obviously. The world's burning down in many ways while you guys are going through, so it makes it a little harder to enjoy. But you guys did get that year to just really focus on your relationship.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it was a blessing because actually when everything kind of shut down, I was in spring training and she was filming something overseas. And so then we met back up here. And
once we had 2-3 weeks together.
Yeah, we're trying to adjust, but it was, Levi, you're right. It was hard when so many people are hurting, but then you also, I believe you have to find the silver lining or the blessings and everything. And one of those blessings for us was while we're figuring out what's going to happen, when is it going to happen, we got to do that together and start routines that we've never had before and figure out what that looks like for us. And I really do think it was a huge, huge blessing and so grateful for that time. And, to be honest, we're still learning so many of the things that she's learning what I like and I'm learning what she likes and vice versa. And, we hadn't necessarily spent that much time together. And so there's so many things you're adjusting and learning. And then she, and I'm learning to pick up the cans after I drink them and set them down. And
I'm learning not to pick up the cans.
Over yet. I'll pick them up after the game.
Don't touch that.
I learned to leave the cans until the game's done.
Well, we're going to be married. It'll be 17 years this year, and we're still learning. So we're always learning. Always growing.
And that's the key, is that you're still dating each other, still pursuing each other, still curious. I think curiosity is in life one of the most important virtues you could have, and to be curious about the other person, because otherwise the opposite of that is being bored. And I think marriages grow stale when they become full of bored people who are no longer asking questions and interested in figuring out. And being around you two, I mean, not only are you guys two of the most competitive people. I mean, obviously, to be a beauty queen, to be as successful as you've been in the athletic world, that Tim and all the things you guys do, you guys both have an intensity to you that is, quite frankly, terrifying,
Well, Levi, look who's speaking, Mr. Tennis Champion.
Well, I'm saying, but like whether you're holding a tennis racket or playing Catan,
tennis against
you can't switch off that world-class intensity, or playing sharks and minnows in the pool. It's like oh my gosh, this is a lot. Everything is amazing. The most important thing. We will win this and take no hostages.
All our secrets here.
I know. It's so true.
But it
is
beautiful.
True.
It is beautiful.
And I imagine
I
at
can
times
see how it
for
can
you
be
both,
insane sometimes.
to have that kind of intensity, I'm sure that at times can cause there to be flared. Have you guys had some very funny fights so you just had to laugh at it?
I actually say that sometimes playing those games, as silly as it sounds, it's one of the best learning opportunities because, and we've had it with each other, with my family, with her family, where all of a sudden it's just a game, but it gets so intense. And then you learn a lot of conflict resolution through Settlers of Catan, right? Or,
Timmy, I feel like you learn conflict resolution.
True.
So first of all, she acts like she's not competitive.
She never wants to trade with me, okay?
You are very intense too, Demi, though. And you guys got
there's an underlying intensity.
No, Tim's is more outright, but also like, oh, you don't make that trade? I'll remember that forever. Like 5 games later, it's like, hey, no, you didn't give me the wood that I needed when I needed it, so now you're dead to me.
Yes, we're talking about Catan, for those of you who don't know, and it's a great game.
Well, and the first time we had never played it, and we sat down with you guys, and you're like, oh, yeah, we'll show you how it works. And then it was like, oh, the game began, and like all of a sudden, different face on Timmy, like everything has changed. It was like, wait, you were my friend just a minute ago. It's like, oh, no.
I'm so sorry, Levi.
But Debbie, yours is more of like you play.
We're doing better at it, though. I feel.
think Demi
you nearly had my dad win recently. So
I know.
You nearly did.
That is hilarious. But Demi's intensity is
I know,
more
she
like
was
she's
so upset.
smiling, but then there's a knife underneath it,
For sure. She was so over Christmas, her parents were playing with us, and her dad was doing so good in a game. And I came back.
Like by himself. He was doing good. Like,
and I came back to win. And she was so upset. Like, why couldn't you just let him win?
I'm like, I should have given him the break.
Really
anyway, yeah. But no, yes, I do think we are pretty passionate people. And
very.
And I appreciate that so much about Tim because, whether it's a board game or whether it's life, whatever it is, he's the same person. And I love that about him. He doesn't change for a board game or for a Zoom call. It's just who he is. And that's something that I appreciate so much about him. And, I think if I was a little bit more timid, he might have gotten bored. So, I have to keep him on his toes. So.
Oh my gosh. First of all, she's so driven, so competitive, so focused. And I think those are all things that I've loved about her, and that is also so fun when we actually put it in the same direction, like our passion for Night to Shine, or our passion for rescuing those that are being trafficked around the world, or and I'm just like, people will ask me, hey, what would you say to young kids that are super driven and competitive, but it's, but it can kind of go in the wrong direction, or they can get attitudes from it. And I'd say, don't squash gifts that kids are given. Just point it in the right direction. I'm so grateful that when I was young, my parents didn't say, stop being competitive or stop being driven or stop wanting to do good in sports. I mean, this is literally like an obsession when I'm 4, 5, 6 years old. Like, I would want to not only win, but I would want to dominate. If I didn't score every point in a basketball game, I would be upset, and I would go home and shoot shots over and over and over again. And I'm grateful that they didn't try to squash that, but they tried to steer in a different direction. Well, be competitive for the good news of the gospel. Be competitive for helping every single hurting person. Be competitive to raise the most money to give to charity. Steer it in the right direction. Wow. Be competitive for the science fair or the history fair, things that I didn't even like. But because they would steer my competitiveness, oh, you won't win first in the science fair. And then I would be like, well, I hate science, but you know what? I'm going to freaking give everything I can to try to win it.
My diorama will be the best diorama. I love the word diorama.
That's amazing. I
Tim,
love that.
What you're describing is so important because you're saying basically that whatever makes you bad or powerful in the enemy's hand is the exact same thing that can make you powerful in God's hand.
I think it's totally the case.
True.
I think it's totally the case. I think that's true for a lot of our abilities or disabilities, is that it's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's where is it pointing? What are we doing with it and where is it pointing? And if we use it for the right reasons, it can be a great thing. God gave you that for a reason. It's awesome. It's good. God made you the way you are, exactly that way, for a purpose, for a plan, for his purpose and his plan. He didn't make a mistake. You are exactly the way he wanted you. Exactly. Now let's focus all of those things, all of those abilities, all of the disabilities, all of the energy, all the strengths, all the weaknesses on what he has called you and what he's asked you and what he's equipped you to do.
That's great. So God doesn't want to take someone who's listening and make you less of who you are, but a full version, an unleashed version, a whole, a total, authentic version of the redemption side of you. And I think,
love that.
like you see Saul in the book of Acts, and he's tearing down the church with a relentless drive. But then when he's saved, he's building the church with a relentless drive. But it's that same focus, same intensity, just doing the right thing with it. And that's really freeing, because I think a lot of people are afraid that God wants to somehow change them, and it's like, no, you have no idea. All those things that make you who you are going to just be even better in the light.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to tell you, I think we told you on the phone the other day, but I've been reading your mom's book, Ripple Effects.
Pam
Tebow's book.
Yeah.
And I love
it. I love it, by the way. I love her book, and I know I'm biased, but I love it.
It's
so good.
She's been reading it. She just comes to me every day like, oh my gosh, I read this in Pam's book. It's like every day you've been just loving the things you've been
I've just been really inspired and refreshed. And it's amazing even hearing about you. I mean, you just talked about growing up in your family and your parents. And I mean, their life is so inspiring, and but it's so cool, like getting to see even like your story of how the doctors told your mom to abort you, and tell us some of that story, because that honestly is, it talks about the miraculousness of your life, and then now you're like taking what God's given you and you're running hard with it. Can you just kind of tell that story a little bit of what your mom went through? And
I don't even think I could do it justice of what she went through, but it was an extremely difficult pregnancy. And actually my dad was preaching in a remote village, and he started to weep for all of the babies that were being aborted around the world. God just really pressed it on his heart as he's waiting to get up and preach at a film showing in a remote island, in a remote village there. And God put it on his heart as he's weeping for all the babies to have another baby boy. And he even put a name on his heart, Timothy, which means honoring God. And so he finishes preaching. He goes back to where they were living. He finally gets back and he goes to my mom and he says, God put it on my heart that we need to try to have another child. And if we do, and he's a boy, that I'd like to name him Timothy. And my mom's like, well, God didn't put that on my heart. We already have 4 kids, Then a couple of days later, my mom started to feel that pressing on her heart. And so then all of the family, including my 4 siblings, started to pray for me by name. And then a little while later, my mom got pregnant with me. And actually, at first, they didn't even think that I was a baby. They thought I was a tumor. And so actually my first nickname was Timmy the Tumor. So I got that going for me. How's that one, trying to break that nickname? Horrible nickname. Horrible. And so then, long story short, the doctors told my mom, once they found out I was a baby, you need to have an abortion. It will cost you her life. And it is a baby. It will cost you his or her life. And you need to do this. And so my parents just decided, really my mom decided to trust God no matter what the outcome was. I'm going to trust God. And so she was sick the entire pregnancy, and she had amoeba dysentery and all of these things that she was fighting through her entire pregnancy. And make a long story short, when she did give birth to me. There was a doctor that had been doing it for over 35 years and was the top in the country. And for 35 years, this was his job, to deliver babies. And after I was delivered, he looked at my mom. He said, I've been doing this for over 35 years. And this is by far the greatest miracle I have ever seen, because I have no idea how this boy is still surviving, how he's still alive, because the placenta wasn't attached during the pregnancy. I have no idea how he got nutrition, and I was malnourished, but I made up for it pretty quickly. And I just I'm so grateful that my mom decided to trust God with her life and with my life. And I'm grateful that she would have trusted God if the outcome wasn't what it was, if it was different. Yeah. And that you can still trust God in the mountains when it goes right, and in the valleys when it doesn't go right. And that God's still sovereign, is still on the throne in all of those situations. Mm-hmm. And, but what was amazing to me was when my parents would tell me the story, because obviously I don't know, right? But when they start to tell me the story, and they start to tell me as a 4, 5, 6-year-old every night, hey, Timmy, do you know why your name is Timothy? Because it means honoring God. Wow. And God saved you for a reason. He spared you for a reason. You're here for a reason. God's going to do something awesome, right? Wow. After you hear that enough, guys, you believe it. Wow. Yeah. You believe it. But you know what? That story is not just true in my life. That story is true in every single one of our lives. Yeah. Every single one of us. Like, it wasn't a surprise to God. Oh, wow, Timmy made it. It wasn't a surprise. Oh, wow, Levi made it. Jenny made it. Demi made it. No. Like, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are perfectly made by a perfect creator. And he loves us, and he designed us exactly the way we are. Exactly the way we are. And why that's important, why it's so valuable and important to me, is because when we understand that in our lives, like, if God wanted me to be taller, he would have made me taller. If he wanted me to be shorter, he would have made me shorter. If he wanted me to be wider, I would be wider. And so what that does is it gives you a sense of confidence, of equipping, of encouragement. Like, God made me, a perfect creator made me this way on purpose, designed me this way. So, wow, he must have a reason why I'm this way. And so many times we look in the mirror and I say, man, if my hair was lighter, if it was darker, if I was taller, if my nose, if my teeth, if my hair, right? We don't have to say that, because a God that loves us like crazy, that gave his best for us when he gave his son, says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and in Christ Jesus, you are a masterpiece. Before you were ever born, I wrote a perfect poem about your life in Christ Jesus for good works for you to do, right? Yeah. We can take confidence and worth and value in that. Right. And so I don't have to look and say, man, I wish I had a body like Levi Lusko. Yeah, right. Which is not what Tim Tebow would ever say. FYI. But we don't have to say that. And that doesn't mean that we don't work to get better. Right. But it does mean that we don't have to spend our life comparing ourselves to other people. Exactly. Because if God wanted us to be like that person, he would have made us like that person. But he didn't. Come on. He wanted us the way we are. And he created us one of one, in love, by love, and for love. And he did not make a mistake. When we understand that and we receive that and we accept it, it changes our life. It changes the value of our life. It changes the perspective of our life. Because now I don't have to sit back and say, oh, you know what? I wish I had. I wish I could. I want to this. We don't have to sit back. Wow, you know what? It could be cool to have that, but God, you made me this way. And so, when I get those feelings or those urges to want to compare or want to contrast, I just get to say, Lord, you made me this way. Please help me be content this way. You know what? I know you have a purpose for me this way. You put me in this position for a reason, right? I'm going to be content. And when I'm not feeling content, I know it's not coming from God. I know it's coming from the enemy that we have, right? And so, God, I'm having these thoughts, these feelings. Please make me content in who I am and who you created me to be, because you made me this way for a reason. And we get to have encouragement, we get to have focus, and we get to have intensity, we get to have love, and we get to cherish who we are. Great. Because God didn't make a mistake. And that also doesn't just go for our abilities. It also goes for our disabilities. Right. Right? I believe that God gave all of it to us for a reason and a plan. And even though sometimes we might not like it, I believe God can use it. And sometimes he uses those things in our life as much or more than the abilities or the strengths. because his love and his grace and his strength is made perfect in our weakness, not necessarily always by our strength. And I think a lot of times when we give those weaknesses and those insecurities to him, I believe he uses a lot of times even more so than he uses the strengths in our life.
Jeez.
So true. And I love that. I love that so much that you as a little boy got to hear, hey, you were made for a reason. You were made for a purpose. And even the book that is your newest book, A Party to Remember, which is so beautiful and so amazing and so fun. That you're telling kids basically that what you were just saying, and kids need to hear that at like you said, at that age of 4, 6, 7, where they're hearing that God made them and they're hearing that they're special, and even the things that they don't like about themselves or they wish were different. And that's what this book is about. And thank you for writing this for kids. I think that's so important for kids to have these kind of books where they know that God made them special.
Yes, and this is your 5th book, but what made you want to write a children's book? Where did this come from?
Exactly what I was just telling you, that when I was lying in bed and my parents would read books to me, and then they would tell me, you're here for a reason, you're special. And this book literally ends by saying, you are unique, you are special, you are wonderful. And I want every single boy or girl that reads this or has it read to them to know that, right? And this is the story of a group of animals that have strengths and weaknesses. And a lot of people would look at them and say, you have disabilities, right? All of them have different disabilities, but how they all work together and how they find their purpose by helping other people find theirs. And they find their purpose by helping other people get to the next step of where they're trying to go, and they do it together. And it's I love coming up with a story, because all of these animals are invited to a special party, and they got to bring their puzzle piece to this party, because they all have a piece that is part of the bigger puzzle, right? But they have to bring it, and they have to find their puzzle piece. And it's almost like understanding your purpose, and they all find their puzzle piece and their purpose, and they all do it by helping one another, and how our purpose in life is to help one another. And we are a part of a bigger puzzle piece, and we are a part of God's big party. Yeah, and we all have a piece and a place and a purpose in it. And when we understand that we do have a piece and we do have a purpose and we're part of the party, we're not invited. We're invited because we do have good news of great joy, which should be for all the people. We're invited. That good news is for us. Yeah. That great joy is for us.
This book really
We're part of that party.
Does sort of capture the feeling and the sentiment and the beauty of A Night to Shine in a book format. Yeah. Which I'm sure
that was really where the inspiration came from, is that, one of the reasons we love Night to Shine is because everyone's invited. And the VIPs are those that have special needs, that some people would say have disabilities. But I believe in God's eyes that they are the VIPs. Very important. Yeah. And he didn't make a mistake on them. Yeah. And we need to treat them that way, because you know what? All of us have been able to walk down red carpets and been cheered for and celebrated because we feel like we do something special or good. But you know what? In God's eyes, I believe that they're special and good and valuable and worthy, and we need to do a better job of celebrating their worth.
Yeah, so true, so beautiful.
Now, when people are listening to this, tomorrow is Friday night, is Night to Shine for 2021, and I imagine is it going to be back to in person, or do you guys know yet?
So it's going to be virtual all around the world, but we're also going to have Night to Shine drive-thrus called Shine-throughs. And we're so excited about that, because although they might not be able to walk down a red carpet, they'll be able to drive down a red carpet and still have paparazzi and still be able to be celebrated and cheered for and clapped for and have dress up and all this stuff. That's exciting. And then in some countries, it does look a little bit different. Some of the more remote countries where we had to make a few exceptions to get gifts and things to people where they literally have to walk in their towns and there's no saying virtual access. So there's some exceptions, but for the most part, it's going to be Night to Shine virtual, which our team has worked so hard on.
Oh, yeah,
They've done such a good job because you know what, we just couldn't in our heart cancel it. Because you can't cancel the worth that people have and the value that they have. And so we had to find a way to still celebrate it. And yes, I wish we could do it with a hug and literally putting a crown, but all of them still will receive a crown or tiara and still be crowned the king of the queen of the prom.
So
still be told that
amazing.
that's how the God of this universe sees them every day of their life.
And there's been
beautiful.
some really amazing people that have just gotten on board and said, let's do this, and helped us make it really special. So
well, I
I'm
don't
actually
care who
really
you
excited
are. You
about it.
can't hear about the Night to Shine vision or watch footage of it. Or for us as a church, we've gotten to get behind it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It's been awesome.
You cannot.
Your Night to Shine is awesome.
Well,
we love y'all's Night to Shine.
But I'm just saying, you can't watch this and hear this and not just be touched by it. I mean, I don't care what Grinch you are with a hard heart. You can't look at this and go, "This is not beautiful." I mean,
Well, and that's the thing too. What a bright light it literally is, because I mean, seeing you on Jimmy Fallon and Good Morning America, and literally telling the world about this. Everyone. I mean, I know about it and I've seen the show, but I just watched it again recently, and I was like, I was getting goosebumps, and like getting to hear what God is doing through you in that night is so beautiful, but it's such a light to people who don't know Jesus yet and who get to be a part of it. I'm sure there's so many stories of people coming who don't know the Lord, and they get to experience God's love in such a tangible way. Yeah. And it's honestly probably one of the most beautiful forms of shining bright God's gospel than I've ever seen. And because these beautiful VIPs who come in, they can't do anything for us. We're literally like paving the way for them to enjoy and have fun and experience God's love. But there's nothing in it for us except we get the joy of seeing God's love in them. And that is the gospel. And it's just so beautiful.
We couldn't do anything for ourselves, so Jesus did it anyways.
Yes.
He loved us so much.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love how it's a little bit backward than a lot of society would have it, the other people walking the red carpet, but not on this night, not on this day. And that's something that means so much to me is, you know, it's also really special in a lot of cultures where honor and shame means more than it kind of means in the US. We don't really understand that as much as other cultures. And, you know, one of the ways that it's impacted me so much is some families have been so ashamed of their children or their family members with special needs that they have literally kept them chained up or locked up or boxed up for decades. And then they hear about a grand party in their town or their village or their city that is honoring people like your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter. And so for the first time in decades, they let them out of the house or they unchained them to be able to come. And they come and then they experience honor. It's not shame, it's honor. We want to honor your family member because we love them and how that has changed their viewpoint. Wait a second, we've been so ashamed of our son or daughter, but you want to celebrate them? And it changes their whole picture. And then you get a chance to share the good news of the gospel with them. And that has been so impactful to me in countries where you literally get to go around and pick them up and take them to Night to Shine and carry them down a red carpet because they can't walk themselves, and be able to share that worth and that value with them. That yes, we love you so, so much, but more importantly, there is a God in heaven that loves you and is crazy about you and loves you more than we can possibly think or imagine or even fathom. That's how loved you are. And I think that's one of the things that has impacted me the most is when you get to bring honor to someone that has never experienced it and their family has never been proud of them.
Wow. Well, and that's what originally built the church up in the first place. You know, in the Roman Empire, it was common to throw babies away that you didn't want or that was a maybe unhealthy baby. And the Christians would rescue those babies and give value and love to them. And so really what you guys are doing is an extension of what has always built the church, and it's love for the outcast.
Yeah.
But how can you, so when people show up, so grateful for all the volunteers. This last year had over 200,000 volunteers, right?
Wow.
But how can you show up and celebrate one of these kings or queens and love them and fall in love with them. And then when you go back home, I can't just fall out of love with them, right? I can't be like, oh, well, now that I went home, they're less than now, And so I think it's changing people's perspective that, wait a second, I just celebrated them. Now I can't re-engineer my brain to devalue them now, right? And so it's trying to also change people's perspective about the worth and the value of human life, of all life. Like, wow, I can't be pro all these people and pro-life with all these people and then go home and wait a second, that's hard to change it because I just fell in love with all these people with special needs who a lot of the world says are outcasts. Dang, they're not outcasts anymore to me. Yeah. And so hopefully it's changing the volunteers' hearts and everyone for, we don't view people ever as less than. Yeah. We view them as unique, as special, and as wonderful.
Yeah.
I think in some instances it's even impacted communities, not just communities, but cultures as a whole, which is really special to see.
I will say also and I would recommend everybody who has kids in your life, grandparent, if you have nieces and nephews, get a copy of A Party to Remember and read it to them because it is touching. It's well written. The pictures are beautiful. Bronco, hello, your dog.
What is sweet.
You got to tell a little bit of the story of the namesake for those who don't know the story of Bronco.
Other characters. You have to tell them about the other characters.
Bronco was my late dog who passed away last year, who was an amazing dog we love so much. And the other main characters were actually, their names came from Wish Kids, who I actually fell so in love with and who have passed away and are all in heaven. And it was fun being able to celebrate them and honor them by using their names as the characters because all of them did live out this message. They fought through their battles so courageously and lived out this message of living with purpose and knowing that they did have some tough fights and some obstacles, but they lived it out so well until God took them home.
I love that. And also, sidebar, I think it's the only kids book I've ever read that used the phrase side hustle. So also just including a little bit of who you are, because it really does come across, and that was refreshing.
I'll bet you remember that.
Oh, man. So fun. Well, shifting gears a little bit, I did want to ask, I know, Tim, you've been very outspoken about some of the things that you found to be helpful hacks when it comes to your, diet and eating, and you've talked a lot about the keto diet. Jenny and I were talking when we came home from our last time we were with you guys, and Jenny was like, "Does it seem like Tim has leaned out a little bit?" I was just curious. Have you changed a little bit of your the bulk or whatever's in your mass or BMI and all that? I was just curious.
Body mass index, I think you're referring to, for those that are wondering what BMI is. No, not necessarily. I think just getting slightly more into baseball shape, leading into strength training and stuff. So it's tweaking everything slightly more into what my body's going to be asked to do.
Yeah.
But you know what? Diet, nutrition, supplementation, sleep. Those things have been so important to me for so many aspects. One, because yes, I've been training to try to be the best I could be on the field, but also because, man, I want to live the most with what everything as God has given me, right? And a lot of times we think of stewardship as just like our time, our treasure, and our talent. But man, it's everything that we put into our body. It's the sleep that we get. It's the nutrition. It's the supplementation. Like I believe when we consume food, we're either giving life or taking life, right? Is that's going to either give you fuel to do stuff or it's going to take away fuel because you're going to feel sluggish and crappy. Yeah. And so, there's a lot of times in the church that, man, we've preached a lot about a lot of different things, but and when we get to a few of those topics, we don't really want to hear them.
I have heard some overweight pastors rip on drinking or rip on smoking or, whatever else. And it's like, I don't know if I want to hear a sermon on self-control from somebody who's hitting KFC on the regular and is rotund, as if I could say. I'm just saying, you're right.
Yeah,
it is kind of.
And we all have our weaknesses with that. But I want to encourage people that with your life, the way you take care of it, you can add quality to it and you can get to more, right? And if your purpose is to get to love the Lord your God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength, to love your neighbor as yourself, you guess what? With more energy, with more stamina, with more fuel, you're going to be able to love more, to get to more, right? You can add to your purpose because you can get to more by the way you feel yourself. Listen, I'm not saying that you can't take a break, you can't eat sweets, you can't do these other things.
I sure do.
But I do think, right, to try to do it in balance, to try to take control of your life, not let your cravings in your life control you. And
I'm sure
I do think we can get
everyone
more.
can agree that can get out of control. Demi, I'm sure you have some stories. I mean, you don't win Miss Universe without being around some girls who have an unhealthy association with their weight and, you know, just that struggle. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who kind of have that kind of need to remember you're not your dress size. Your value doesn't come from your biceps.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. No, for sure, Levi. I agree. I think for me personally, I've always played sports. I've always just loved being active. It's something that I actually enjoy doing. I get joy from it. It makes me feel good. And I get that's not always the case for everyone, right? But to me, it's, you know, it's all about a balance. Tim and I eat very similar. I do sneak a cookie or a chocolate every now and again, but it's all in moderation. And, you know, I don't think I've ever been on per se a diet. You know, I don't necessarily believe in a diet. I believe in a lifestyle because I believe the 1 or 2 times that I've been on a strict diet, it's just not attainable. You can't keep that up for the next 30, 40 years of your life. But if you make it a lifestyle, if you buy into it, it's way more attainable. And you know what? I think it's important to do something that you believe in. And if you believe that you're consuming stuff that is good for your mind, good for your brain, good for your body, that's going to help you, that's going to nourish you. If you believe in that, why wouldn't you do that, right?
That's
Why
really good.
That's good.
wouldn't you invest in that?
Yeah.
And this month on Hey It's Luskos, we're trying to have some different emphasis that we talk about, whether it's getting on top of your finances or getting growing as a leader. And I thought it would just be fun, just maybe someone who's listening has never heard of the ketogenic diet, just kind of a quick kind of overview. What are the sort of meals that they would eat? Most meals, Tim, that could be helpful for somebody.
Yeah, so a quick to sum it up, it's really switching your fuel source from a carb, sugar, glucose into a fat where you burn fat for fuel. And so really what the keto diet is it's high fat, moderate protein, low carb, and sugar. And it's really letting your body burn from the good fats. So it would be having a lot of good fats like avocado and MCT oils and other good oils and nuts and eggs and good protein, good fats like that, and then good protein. And so really what I don't even try to sell is necessarily just a keto diet, but it is a healthy diet. It's what can work for you. I believe in the keto diet. I believe that it has worked for me and I really like it. But maybe if you want to take parts of it and then fit in other things that work for you, but it's also based on what you believe. But what I would encourage people is you have one life, you have one chance, you have one body. Why not take care of it? So what I would say to you is at least do some research, take some chances, try something. Try some different some options and see what it does for you and your body. But it's just not worth not doing anything. Yeah. It's just not worth just saying, you know what, maybe whatever, let's just, figure it out. And so I would encourage people to at least research it enough and take some chances. Maybe it's intermittent fasting. We do it all the time. Maybe that could be a great way to start. Maybe that might work really good for you. But I would at least say, to find a way to put good fuel in your system. And if you need a couple of days a week where you can cheat on something, if that's going to help your brain and ease some of the stress for you, then do that. But at least find a way to give yourself some good fuel so it can fuel you for your bigger purpose.
That's great.
You know what? So good. Something that gets to me so much, Tim, and I'm not a rocket scientist, I'm not a dietitian, haven't studied this. It's really not hard to understand, but don't just believe what a label tells you. If it says no sugar, it doesn't mean it's healthy. If it says gluten-free, it doesn't mean it's good for you. It means there's just no gluten. It doesn't mean there's not sugar and a ton of carbs in that as well. So just
do a little research.
Because your body is worth it.
So helpful. Even we hung out one time and you guys led a workout for us, but it wasn't just like, oh, we're just going to work out. It was like, I feel like I was in class, like learning about my muscle and this is what happens when you do this. And I was like, you guys are just so knowledgeable in those things. And I'm so grateful. And even was having like low back pain, and Timmy, you were like,
grab the softball.
You're like, okay, well you need this and this. And it was like Dr. Timmy came out, but like you guys it's inspiring, because I think so often, I know this is true for me, like I can kind of just coast through life and just kind of do whatever and what people say is good, but actually like putting some effort and energy into what's good for my body and what is good for my soul and what's good for my spirit, and really like taking responsibility for myself. Because I think so often we can just kind of do whatever anyone else is doing, but we're not actually like, oh, this is my body that God gave me. What can I do to be the healthiest version of me?
And I really think there's an incredible connection that exists between people's mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. And a lot of people are struggling through what they would think would be either an emotional, or maybe even, they might even think they have a mental health issue, depression that may not even really be there. And it may be. I'm not painting with a broom, but I think if you could get exercise, get your diet in order, start drinking more water, you might find some of those.
See where you are.
I'd say it's worth a try.
Yeah, it's worth a try. Yeah. And I would also say a lot of times when people talk about diet, it's only for their body and how they look. Listen, your body doesn't necessarily mean, if you're lean, doesn't necessarily mean you're in shape, right? Those don't necessarily, it's not a clear correlation, right? And so, or if you're lean doesn't mean you're healthy,
right?
You know,
right.
And does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so part of a diet too is not just for me to be vain and have a better looking body. It's also a big part of my diet is for my brain, because I want to be able to lock in and have focus. So a lot of the foods I eat are primarily for my brain.
Wow.
And so that's a choice, because man, I want to study. I want to learn. I want to be a learner. Like Levi said earlier, I'll be studying. We're studying so many things together, or we feel like we're on this journey together. I want to continue to learn, you know? And so a big part of my diet is not just for my body, but it's really for my brain, to fuel my brain, to want to learn, to be in God's word, to do all these other things. Right. And, you know, to be able to dream big and pray big and try to live and go out there and accomplish these things. So a big part of that is fueling our brain, not just our body. So, no, a lot of people make their diet just about their body, but I believe that it is as much about our brain, if not more than our body at all.
Honestly, and it is like taking an antidepressant to get an exercise in, to do something that makes you sweat. Yeah. Get out there and take a walk, eat something. And I have a little Tim Tebow on my shoulder, and it was funny because we were together New Year's Eve. Last 2 years, actually, we spent New Year's together, and we finished the event, and we came in the back room, and it's 1:30 in the morning, and they had brought in a bunch of cheeseburgers and chicken fingers and shakes, which is exactly what your body needs at 1:30 in the morning going into New Year's Day, right? And I was just about to grab a box with the food. I was starving, and I just heard from across the room, Levi, you better not eat that bun. And I look over, and you were standing there, you had peeled the hamburger patty away from the bun. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. But I love that because it is your influence on me. Yeah. So I hear that little voice all the time. You better not eat that bun.
That's hilarious. That's so funny. Something else that has really worked for me is I try and make an appointment with myself. Levi, just like we have an appointment right now, I would get up, I'd plan my day out, and first thing I try and get in is a workout. And I've not had a good couple of weeks. My parents have been visiting, and I try to get every minute with them. But you know, for the most part, I try and make an appointment with myself, even if that means I have to book a class to go get a workout. Yeah, I do that because it's worth it.
And people who are like, oh, I don't have a gym or whatever. It's like, but it's amazing what you can do with just your own body. A jump rope.
Quarantine showed us that, right? Quarantine showed us that. No excuses.
You know, there's a million things you could do. Yeah. By the way, walking is one of the best exercises. The studies that have come out that say if you walk for 10 minutes after every meal, the results are crazy. Wow. If after you walk for 10 minutes after breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And by the way, most of us can do that. Like most of us can do that. Yeah. The results of our digestion, of how much fat it burns, it's crazy. Wow. Like just walking 10 minutes after you eat a meal.
Well, there you go. Well, Tim and Demi, I just want to say you guys are some of our favorite friends. We're better in life because of you.
Yes.
You're an example.
Yeah.
Not just because of the Heisman and the Miss Universe accolades the world's given you, but because of what you've done for God, because of the way you shine and the way you use the attention that God's put on you to bless other people.
Yeah.
And we're better people because of you.
That's right.
So
Thank
we love you guys.
It was
We're
good
better because of
speaking,
y'all. We're
for sure.
so grateful for your ministry, your heart, what you're doing through your church, which is growing. Y'all got like 42 campuses now, so that's cool. Thank you for partnering with Night to Shine and for just all of the example you've been and for sharing your wisdom, your amazing gifts and aqua notes that I use all the time.
All the time. I've reordered
all
them.
the time.
Aren't they amazing?
Best gifts I've ever been given.
Tim's talking about Aqua Notes, which is a notepad that has suction cups. I'm not sponsored by, but I should be. It'll
We've
stick
bought
to the
lots
wall
of
of your
them.
shower. And then there's waterproof pencils. And so because great ideas come when you're in the shower. And honestly,
right.
the
The best.
sauna, the shower, the bath,
They're
the
the
hot
best.
tub, that's when you
They're
get
the
good
best.
ideas.
It's the best. And by the way, right now, first of all, I probably used 6 or 7 of them already today. And I probably have 12 up in our shower right now.
Because after you take, if you can imagine, if you're not listening to this, they're like 3 inches by 5 inches. But after you write on one, you can stick it to the wall of your shower and they'll stay stuck
So
there
it's
for a
all
while.
over the place. They stay stuck there. Oh yeah.
Mad
They're
scientist.
amazing.
Yeah, so when you
It is.
when you write talks and when you write ideas for books or blogs, it's the best time in the shower to outline that stuff.
It
and
is.
then you end up carrying them around with you all the time.
I have them everywhere. By the way, I love him. Before Bastion, he walked in. He's like, I noticed those. I
I saw,
have them
look at you.
everywhere.
I can see this message was written on the Aqua Notes.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Every time I just wonder what Timmy's thinking, I just take a shower.
Timmy says anytime I wonder what Tim's thinking, I just take a shower.
That's hilarious. Oh, you
We
guys, we
leave each
love
other
you.
notes on them too, back and forth. Like I just took a shower a while back, and she had written "I love you" on one of my Aqua Notes. So sitting there.
You did. I know.
That was a whale back.
A whale back. Aw.
She's words of affirmation. I'm more of like gifts and stuff.
Well, you guys are a gift to the world.
Yes.
Well, get a party to
Speaking of
remember.
gifts, you guys are the best gift givers.
Oh,
You
thank
guys are
So
you're
much
really,
joy.
really good gift givers.
So thoughtful.
You're super thoughtful.
Oh man. Well, we got to let you guys go. Love you. Get a party to
you.
remember.
Love you guys.
Support Night to Shine. Tim, Demi. We will see you soon.
Can't wait.
You
See
guys,
you
so
guys.
much fun. Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
That was amazing.
How hectic was that rush back to home after Passion?
Um,
Oh, you
It
ended up
wasn't-
shooting
so-
in Georgia, right?
Yeah, we found a studio. We did the next morning. We were exhausted. Well, I was. They slept in. I know.
Bro, we slept until 10:30. We shut the apocalypse
So did
blinds. Yeah.
so did she. I know. We were on air like at 7 the next morning.
Oh my
and I was like,
gosh.
I usually try not to drink a lot of coffee. I had 3 cups that morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
Oh gosh. And then we
Yeah.
got the 2:00 to Sarasota, and that place was amazing. That Ritz was
Did
fantastic.
you like it?
It was
Yes.
amazing. It was
Yeah.
so
Thanks
fun.
for the recommendation.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. I can't. Well, next time we got to get up and get together, and we got to get her to Montana.
Yes.
And have you guys do something together for our church? That would be the best.
That would
We
be
love
amazing.
it. Oh, we're so happy to do it. We
Yeah.
want to. We just want to get to hang out and
Yeah.
obviously do that if we can, but it'll be fun.
We'll find
Yeah,
the day. All
we'll
right,
do
guys.
it.
Have a great day.
Love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Bye,
See you
guys.
guys.